Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we take your sources and really unpack the most compelling insights.
That's right.
Today we're diving into a set of sources that paints, well, a pretty stark picture of life on an unusual farm. It reveals some surprising things about power and loyalty, mainly through the story of one incredibly dedicated worker.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today is really to explore how unwavering dedication, that kind of commitment, but also the slow shift of power. And, maybe most importantly, the clever manipulation of information. How all that can fundamentally reshape a community's reality.
Yeah, these sources really offer a poignant narrative. It's almost like a case study, isn't it? Into how belief systems get warped, how sacrifices are, well, extracted,
Hey.
and how a community sort of grapples with what it's told is progress versus, its own lived experience.
Exactly.
We're going to see how information, perception, and power dynamics all intertwine, and I think they reveal some universal truths applicable, far beyond these farm gates.
Okay, let's begin then. Our story really centers on Boxer. He's a horse.
Yeah.
And his immense strength, his unwavering commitment.
Yeah.
They're absolutely central to this account.
Mm.
We learn he's suffering from a split hoof, which sounds incredibly painful.
Oh, yeah.
But despite that, he just refuses to take a single day off work.
It's incredible. He views it as a point of honor, almost like a personal creed, to not let his suffering be seen.
Right. And what's fascinating there is that stark contrast you mentioned between the hidden agony he admits it privately to Clover, another horse,
Yes.
and then this public stoicism.
Yeah, both Clover and Benjamin, the cynical donkey, they urge him, ease up, work less. But Boxer, he's driven by this one final sort of poignant ambition
Okay, so it's
to see the windmill well underway before he reaches retirement age.
retirement. What did that even mean on this farm?
Well, for horses, it had been fixed at 12 years old. And Boxer's 12th birthday was fast approaching. And the initial agreements, back in the early days, they sounded quite generous. They talked about liberal old age pensions. Things like 5 pounds of corn a day, 15 pounds of hay in winter.
Wow.
Even carrots or apples on public holidays. Sounds pretty good.
It does. But while Box was pushing himself like that, what was life like for everyone else? Well, the sources say life on the farm itself was incredibly harsh for most. The winter was just as cold as the last one, apparently, and food was even shorter. All the rations were drastically reduced for the general animals.
Except
for the pigs and the dogs. They were exempt.
Right. Which immediately begs the question, doesn't it? If this was supposed to be Animal Farm, founded on these principles of equality, how did they rationalize such blatant disparity?
Oh, indeed. Well, that's a crucial question, and is where we really see the insidious power of linguistic manipulation at play.
Squealer, the pig, he was the master of this. He explained that, and I quote, a too rigid equality in rations. Well, that would be contrary to the principles of animalism.
Inconvenient.
Very. And he never, ever called them reduction. No. They were always readjustments.
The adjustments, wow.
And he'd read out these elaborate figures, supposedly proving in, minute detail, that they actually had more oats, more hay, more turnips, worked shorter hours, had better drinking water, lived longer.
Seriously, he claimed all that.
Oh, yes. More surviving young, more straw in their stalls, suffered less from fleas, all compared to Jones's day, of course.
Than the animals.
Well, the sources say they believed him. Despite their empty bellies, they sort of clung to the idea that life, however hard it was now, it must have been worse before.
So this isn't just like misleading them slightly. It's about completely reshaping their reality through language.
Precise.
By rebranding reductions as readjustments, Squealer doesn't just soften the blow. He subtly shifts the animal's whole perception. He kind of erodes their ability to trust their own lived experience, doesn't he?
Yeah, or accept objective truth. It's a classic tactic, really.
It really is.
It's all about creating a narrative, even if it's a fictional one, that completely replaces genuine experience. And as you listen to this, maybe reflect on how often we encounter similar linguistic manipulations in our own daily lives.
That's a good point.
Whether it's in marketing or politics or even, personal narratives. How do you, listening now, identify when language is being used to obscure rather than reveal?
Something to think about. And this is where the narrative takes a truly dark turn. It really exposes the fragility of memory and truth when they're under control.
Yeah.
Because as the general animals suffered, this new hierarchy was just becoming clearer and clearer, solidifying the pig's grip on power.
Right. The sources mention 4 sows littering simultaneously.
Producing 31 young pigs.
And their parentage was implicitly tied to Napoleon, the farm's leader, the only boar on the farm, conveniently.
Right. And then it was announced a schoolroom would be built just for them in the farmhouse garden.
And for now, Napoleon himself was instructing them, in the kitchen no less,
Yeah.
and explicitly discouraging them from playing with the other young animals. Segregation, basically.
Yeah, clear separation. And new rules came in that just reinforced this growing privilege. It marked a real social stratification.
Like what?
Well, any other animal meeting a pig on the path had to stand aside.
Seriously?
Yep. And all pigs, didn't matter what rank, they were all to wear green ribbons on their tails on Sundays.
Green ribbons.
Yeah.
A badge of honor, or privilege, rather.
Exactly. And despite the farm supposedly having a fairly successful year, according to the pigs, it was still short on money for things like the schoolroom materials, the windmill machinery.
So where did the money go? Or come from?
Well, they had to sell off hay and potatoes.
Yeah.
And they dramatically increased the egg contract up to 600 a week.
600? The poor hens.
Exactly. It meant the hens could barely hatch enough chicks just to maintain their own numbers.
But the pigs.
Ah, the pigs. The sources tell us they seemed comfortable enough and were, quote, putting on weight.
Putting on weight while others starved.
Okay.
Then came this particularly appetizing smell wafting from the disused brew house.
Ooh, intrigue.
The animals, ever hopeful, they imagined warm mash, a bit of comfort.
A reasonable hope, you'd think.
But no, it was soon announced that all the barley would now be reserved exclusively for the pigs.
Of course it was.
And even more specifically, every single pig would receive a pint of beer daily. Daily,
Yeah.
with Napoleon himself getting half a gallon. Served, get this, in a Crown Derby soup tureen.
A soup tureen.
Yes.
The symbolism, it's almost laughable if it wasn't so tragic.
It really is. So, okay, you've got animals literally starving, the pigs living in just blatant luxury. How did Napoleon and Squealer possibly manage to keep the working animals loyal? How did they stop an outright rebellion? What was their strategy for morale? Well, that's precisely where we see the brilliance and the sheer cruelty of their propaganda machine. If there were hardships, and there clearly were, the sources indicate they were partly offset, or at least that's the claim, by a supposed greater dignity in their lives marked by more songs, more speeches, more processions.
Ah, the distraction.
Big time. Napoleon commanded these weekly spontaneous demonstrations. That's what they called them. Spontaneous.
Spontaneous but commanded.
Right.
He did.
So to celebrate the farm's struggles and triumphs. The animals would march in military formation, pigs leading, of course,
Right.
followed by horses, cows, sheep, poultry, flanked by the dogs for enforcement, and led by Napoleon's personal black cockerel.
Quite a picture. And Boxer.
Boxer and Clover, ever loyal, always carried the green banner, the one with the hoof and horn captioned, "Long live Comrade Napoleon."
Wow. So this isn't just distraction, is it? It feels more like a masterclass in psychological conditioning, forcing them to celebrate.
Oh, absolutely. By demanding active participation in these, quote, spontaneous demonstrations, the regime basically co-opts the animals' very physical experience. It aligns their movements, their voices, with the official narrative. It makes any dissent feel like, well, a betrayal.
A betrayal of the collective, or even of themselves. Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly right. These events, plus the recitations of poems praising Napoleon, Squealer's endless speeches about production increases, it all served a crucial purpose. It was designed to make the animals forget their empty bellies by constantly reminding them they were their own masters now, working for their own benefit.
And did it work?
Apparently so. The sheep, notably, were the most fervent devotees. They'd silence any complaints with just this tremendous, overwhelming bleating of 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
The original slogan still being used to shut down thought, and the formalization of power. It reached its peak in April, didn't it?
It did. Animal Farm was proclaimed a republic.
Which sounds good, but...
But it wasn't a return to any kind of democratic ideals. It was really just the final, thinly veiled step in Napoleon's consolidation of absolute control.
Legitimizing his one-man rule through the illusion of an election.
Where he was the only candidate, elected unanimously, of course.
Of course.
And the control over information, it also extended backwards into history itself.
Rewriting the past.
Completely. Fresh documents were suddenly discovered, air quotes around, discovered.
Naturally. Revealing what this time?
Further details about Snowball's supposed complicity with Jones, the old farmer. It was now claimed that Snowball hadn't just been a traitor in thought, but he'd actually fought on Jones's side in the Battle of the Cowshed.
No.
Yes.
Wait.
Leading the human forces, shouting, "Long live humanity," apparently.
That's audacious.
And to cap it all, that Napoleon himself had heroically inflicted the wounds on Snowball's back during the battle.
Wow. So not just distortion anymore. This is full-scale rewriting of their shared past.
Absolutely. But designed to cement Napoleon's heroic status and utterly demonize any rivals, living or exiled.
Right around this time, someone else reappears, don't they?
Yes, Moses the Raven. He turns up again after several years away.
The storyteller.
That's him. Still did no work, according to the sources. Just perched on a stump talking endlessly about Sugar Candy Mountain.
Yes, Sugar Candy Mountain. The animal heaven.
The happy country where animals would rest forever from their labors. And many animals, desperate for some kind of hope, they believed him. They reasoned that in their hard lives, such a better world must exist somewhere.
It's understandable, the appeal. But what about the pigs? How do they react to Moses and his tales?
Well, this is fascinating. Publicly, they contemptuously declared his stories were lies. Just fantasies.
Okay, standard procedure for them.
But they allowed him to remain on the farm, not working. And they even gave him a gill of beer a day.
Beer. For telling lies they supposedly hated. That seems contradictory.
It does, doesn't it? But it suggests a very practical tolerance, almost cynical.
How so?
Well, why eliminate a harmless belief? Especially one that offers a non-threatening escape valve for all that hardship. It diverts attention from the real earthly injustices, doesn't it? It's a subtle but, pretty effective form of social control. Keep them dreaming of the afterlife.
Keep them dreaming so they don't rebel. Okay, that makes a chilling kind of sense. Let's go back to Boxer. He really embodies the tragic consequences of this whole system, doesn't he?
He really does.
After his hoof finally healed, the sources say he worked harder than ever, like a slave.
Mm-hmm. Despite his hide being less shiny, his haunches visibly shrunken, the work was taking its toll.
But he kept going, still uttering his maxim, "I will work harder." Even when he apparently had almost no voice left.
Just whispering it. And his 12th birthday was fast approaching. That retirement he dreamed of. His only goal, his whole focus, was just to accumulate enough stone for the windmill before he had to retire.
Such dedication. And
then one summer evening, the devastating news broke. Boxer had fallen. At the windmill. He was working there, and he just couldn't get up. There was blood trickling from his mouth.
Oh, no.
Clover rushed to his side, and Boxer, apparently with his dying breath, he expressed hope. Hope that the windmill could be finished without him, and he looked forward to retirement. With Benjamin, the donkey, he was eager to finally have leisure to study, to learn the rest of the alphabet.
He wanted to learn the alphabet. That's heartbreaking.
22 letters left to learn. That was his retirement plan.
And Squealer, he must have shown up quick.
Like clockwork, full of sympathy and concern, the sources say, announcing that Comrade Napoleon, in his great mercy and with deepest distress, was arranging for Boxer to be treated at a hospital in Willingdon.
A human hospital. That must have caused some alarm.
It did. The animals were uneasy. No animal had ever left the farm to be cared for by humans before. It went against everything.
But Squealer?
But Squealer, ever the manipulator, convinced them it was the best course of action. Special treatment for a special comrade.
So for 2 days, Boxer just lay in his stall.
Yeah, given some pink medicine the pigs found. Still apparently looking forward to his peaceful retirement, his intellectual pursuits.
And then the van came.
Then the van came. And Benjamin, the donkey, usually so cynical and quiet, he was seen galloping, braying, screaming, actually.
Screaming what?
Fools! Fools! They're taking Boxer away, don't you see?
What did they see?
The animals rushed out. They saw a large closed van with a sly-looking man on the driver's seat. And Benjamin, pushing Muriel the goat aside because she could read a bit, he read the horrifying lettering on the side of the van.
What did it say?
It said, "Alfred Simmons, horse slaughter and glue boiler Willingdon, dealer in hides and bone meal, kennels supplied."
Oh, my God. The knacker's yard.
The knacker's yard. A cry of horror just burst from the animals. They finally understood.
Clover. She must have been devastated.
She cried out to Boxer, begging him, get out quickly. They're taking you to your death."
Could he hear them? Did he try?
Boxer's face appeared at the little window at the back of the van, and then they heard it. The sound of frantic hoofs, drumming against the inside of the van. He was trying to kick his way out, but his strength, his famous strength, had finally left him. The drumming sound faded. The van sped away.
And Boxer was never seen again.
Never seen again. It's just gut-wrenching to read that. Boxer, the absolute embodiment of loyalty.
Produced to just a source of income for the pigs, for whiskey money.
Yeah. And the sheer audacity of Squealer's lie, even as Benjamin was literally reading the truth out loud.
It just underscores how thoroughly their control over information could override even undeniable visible facts right in front of their eyes.
Absolutely chilling.
So what happened next? How did Squealer spin this?
Well, 3 days later, Squealer made the announcement. Boxer had died in the hospital in Willingdon, despite receiving, quote, every attention.
Right, every attention.
He even claimed to have been present at the very end, describing it as the most affecting sight he'd ever seen.
Oh, I bet he did. Did he invent some last words, too?
Of course. He proceeded to fabricate Boxer's dying words. First, regret at not finishing the windmill, followed by, forward, comrades, forward in the name of the rebellion, long live Animal Farm, long live Comrade Napoleon, Napoleon is always right.
Wrapping it all up with loyalty slogans. Unbelievable.
Then Squealer addressed the foolish and wicked rumor, as he put it, about the van's true nature.
How did he explain away horse slaughter?
Simple, according to Squealer. The van had previously belonged to the knacker. It had been bought by the veterinary surgeon, who just hadn't had time to paint over the old name yet.
Oh, come on. And they bought that.
The sources say the animals were enormously relieved they accepted it.
Wow. Relief is a powerful emotion, too, I guess. Easier than facing the horrific truth.
Perhaps. Napoleon then gave a short oration in Boxer's honor. Couldn't bring back his remains for burial, naturally.
Convenient.
But he sent a large laurel wreath to be placed on Boxer's grave, or where his grave would have been.
A wreath paid for by...
We'll get to that. Napoleon finished by reminding everyone of Boxer's 2 favorite maxims. I will work harder, and Comrade Napoleon is always right. The perfect epitaph for an exploited worker.
So you asked earlier, why go to such elaborate lengths with the lie about the van, when some animals must have known, or at least suspected, the truth?
Right. Why the big performance?
The answer, chillingly, became apparent on the day scheduled for Boxer's memorial banquet, which was only for the pigs, by the way.
Of course.
A grocer's van from Willingdon delivered a large wooden crate to the farmhouse.
A crate?
A crate. That night, the sources report uproarious singing coming from the farmhouse, followed later by what sounded like a violent quarrel.
Uh-oh.
And then, around 11 o'clock, a tremendous crash of glass.
Sounds like a party got out of hand.
Exactly. The word went around the next day that the pigs had somehow acquired the money for another case of whiskey.
Another case of whiskey.
Yeah.
There it is.
Leaving very little doubt in anyone's mind, including the readers, as to how Boxer's unwavering loyalty, and indeed his very life, were ultimately valued.
Sold for booze money. That's the final betrayal.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for us looking back at these sources? This deep dive into the farm, into Boxer's life and death. It really highlights this powerful, often heartbreaking interplay between dedication, deception, and the slow, insidious erosion of ideals. I think the core insight here, for me at least, is that unwavering loyalty, when it's coupled with a lack of critical thinking, or maybe the suppression of critical thinking,
Yeah.
it becomes the most potent fuel for exploitation. The harder Boxer worked, the more valuable he became, not for his own benefit, but as a resource to be consumed.
That's a really stark way to put it, but it's true. And it raises an important question, doesn't it, for you, the listener? How do we discern true progress from just cleverly masked hardship in our own lives, in our own societies? And how do we ensure that loyalty and hard work are genuinely valued, genuinely rewarded, rather than just exploited in any system or community we belong to?
Yeah, think about the systems around you right now. Where might a readjustment, quote unquote, be hiding a reduction? Where might inconvenient truths be painted over, just like that van?
It's about staying critical, asking questions, remembering the past accurately.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into these really revealing sources.
Wow.